Great.
Hi, I'm speaking against the appealing ban of women in combat, and I will be discussing the many disadvantages of women in combat. Women make unqualified combatants due to their psychological and physical disadvantages. Katrina stated that this rule prevents women from having the same positions as most of the males do, and it doesn't help them advance their careers as much. But pushing women into combat for the purpose of career advancement contradicts the military ethos, which is what the military is based on and what their values are, and which is the promotion of selfless sacrifice, duty, and honor, which means that the country or the group is above the individual. So why would, if they're unqualified psychologically or physically, why would they put themselves over the country, which is what they've been trained to do and value? More women in combat is likely to increase sexual harassment incidents, especially during combat training. This leads to a lack of cohesion and further strain and tension between the two genders. As Wendy stated, right now 1/3 of women in the military are harassed, and those are the incidents reported. The last year's Pentagon report found that upwards of 75% of all sexual assault victims do not even report the crime. And a government accountability office found that 52% of service members at 14 installations who have been sexually assaulted over the past year have not even reported those assaults. And in the official Army Command Policy booklet published by the Department of the Army, it states that sexual harassment destroys teamwork and negatively affects combat readiness. Successful mission accomplishment can be achieved only in an environment free of sexual harassment for all personnel. Programs designated to prevent sexual harassment are inefficient and do not even effectively stop sexual harassment. Even now, there's a battle buddy system, and basically you need to be with someone the whole time, whether you're on or off duty. And Carolyn Collins, program manager of the Army Sexual Harassment and Assault Response and Prevention Program, states that we believe it is the duty of every soldier to intervene and stop incidents before they occur. But most of these incidents aren't even reported, so they are still occurring. And Charlene Bradley, the Air Force's Assistant Deputy of Force Management Integration, states, we believe the most effective prevention efforts must be focused on airmen who, by their participation in peer groups and activities, might either actively or passively provide support or camouflage for the sexual predators in their midst. Extensive court-martial and disciplinary hearings results in reports of sexual harassment. So if we had less women in combat, there would be less instances of sexual harassment, and many would also be saved. And women in combat is likely to increase incidents of conflicts of interest. They're together, a lot of the men and the women are together for long periods of time, and therefore there's bound to be quarrels and some sort of drama creating lack of cohesion. And physical disadvantage. Women aren't as qualified physically as men. According to the Presidential Commission on the Assignment of Women in the Armed Forces, Lieutenant Colonel William Gregory, United States Army, testified before the commission regarding a survey he conducted at an Army ROTC advanced summer camp on 623 women and approximately 3,000 men, and he presented this evidence to the commission, which included that using the standard Army physical fitness test, he found that the upper quintile of women at the West Point achieved the scores on the test equivalent to the bottom quintile of the men. Only 21 women out of the initial 600, which is about 3%, achieved a score equal to the average score of the average male. And adopting a male standard of fitness at West Point would mean that 70% of women he studied would be separated separated as failures by the end of their junior year, and only 3% would be eligible for the Recondo badge, and not one would receive the Army Physical Fitness badge. For physical strength, the Commission also heard expert testimony between various sources that generally stated that women's aerobic capacity is significantly lower, meaning they cannot carry as much as far as men, and that they are more susceptible to fatigue. And as you know, at this point in time, men cannot get pregnant, and women can get pregnant, and this creates non-deployability. And from the Commission's report, non-deployability briefings before the Commission show that women were 3 times more non-deployable than men, primarily due to pregnancy during Operation Desert Shield and Storm. And according to Navy Captain Martha Whitehead's testimony before the Commission, the primary reason for women being unable to deploy was pregnancy, and that representing 47% of women who could not deploy. And there are many various psychological disadvantages. Most female recruits are not psychologically fit for combat. According to Lori M. Feener, a colonel in the United States Air Force and the chief of the Intelligence Force Development at the U.S. Pentagon, about 50% of Army women recruits had prior sexual trauma. The study concluded childhood sexual abuse was more widespread among female soldiers than female civilians. These women are high at risk of permanent disability induced by tactical training situations that result in post-traumatic stress reactions. And tactical training situations would include the Air Force, Army, simulated rape training. Women incapable of psychologically handling tactical training fly for extended periods of time, and debilitating psychological trauma, and such actions are dangerous. So basically, women are unqualified combatants due to their psychological and physical disadvantages, and we should keep the current policies regarding women in combat.